Okay, so anyone who watched my first video for YouTube, which was International Bereaved Mothers Day 2012, knows that I've already lost 2 children, but that's kind of all you know. And I did say I was going to make another video, so here it is. The 27th of June 2011, I discovered that I was carrying our first child. I was already 8 weeks when I found out, and they were to be due on the 14th of February 2012, which is obviously Valentine's Day, so it just seemed perfect. At that point I was at home and my partner was at his, and we were talking on Facebook at the time, so I just kind of blurted out the fact that we were going to be having a baby. Obviously it took some time to adjust to, but we were both really happy, we were excited, we couldn't wait. But at that time I think I had to wait a month before I could see him again. So the 25th of July, his dad drove down to Coventry to pick me up and drove me back up to Sheffield, which is where he lives. And we were almost there, and this car swerved out in front of us and put the brakes on. So obviously we had to do the same, and at that point the seatbelt dug into me. And I didn't really think anything of it at the time, but as soon as I got out of the car, something felt wrong, and I went to the toilet and noticed that I was bleeding. So at that point in time I knew I knew that was it. And I knew that was going to be the end of the pregnancy. And within 5 to 10 minutes I was in absolute agony. I was in so much pain, I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything. My abdomen was just, it was horrific. Obviously now I know that they were the contractions and that was my cervix dilating. It was basically telling me that I was trying to give birth pretty much, and I needed to get to the hospital, but yeah. His dad had left as soon as he dropped me off to go and meet his friends, I believe, and so my partner ended up calling him back, and this point in time we hadn't actually told him that I was pregnant. We wanted to do it together, and this was the first time we'd been together, so the plan was, as to when he got back from going out with his friends, we were going to give him what should have been really good news. But he ended up calling him back, and he had to explain that I was pregnant and I was losing it all at the same time. So his mum and dad are separated, so they were living in different houses, so he phoned up his mum and she came over, and then we drove to the hospital, and I didn't have to wait particularly long because it's such a small place. I went straight upstairs pretty much and had a D&C, and we saw them take the baby, but they didn't actually show it us, which was upsetting. But after that we didn't see him at all, so we never actually found out what sex he was, or I keep saying he, we consider him a boy, but we don't know. We were never told anything about him, so we don't have a clue. After that I was sent home. They discharged me that night, and I stayed at his house, and we waited and we waited and we waited, and months and months passed, and I really wanted to know what they were doing, because I'd arranged for a private burial, and I got my partner to phone them up constantly pretty much, because they said 8 weeks and it had gone past 8 weeks. So I had him phoning him all the time, trying to find out, when my child was, when I was going to get him back, when I was going to be able to bury him, and nothing. He kept getting the same answer. The same answer every single time was, we'll get back to you, we'll call you back, we'll tell you tomorrow, and that never happened. No one ever replied. So I think it got to the point where I'd had enough. So I ended up phoning them up, which I didn't want to do. I don't like phone calls anyway. And this was particularly, yeah, I really didn't want to do this one, to be honest. But I did, because at this point I was so desperate to get him back. I would have done anything. And I actually got through when they did phone me back the next day. And the thing is, it was only to tell me that there was no baby. They didn't have him, they said they didn't take him away, but we saw them take him. We know they had him. And that was devastating, to know that I could not bury my child. So yeah, there was never any closure. There was just, the burial was the final thing. Without that, it was just something that was continuous, something that went on and on and on, and there was nothing I could do about it. We just had to find a new way to get on with our life. So that was, it was heartbreaking. We got back into the routine. Oh, I didn't say, my partner had also said at that point in time that he didn't want to try again, which didn't help either. So time went on, we fell back into the routine of, you know, having unprotected sex again. And lo and behold, on the 23rd of December, I found out I was carrying again. I was 5 weeks along, and I was with him this time, and we were just ecstatic. It couldn't have been better. I mean, for Christmas as well, it was amazing, it was brilliant. He was to be due on the 24th of August 2012, and yeah, like I said, we couldn't have been happier. It got to I did my 12-week scan. When did I do my 12-week scan? Sorry, I can't even remember when I did my 12-week scan. But yeah, I went and did my 12-week scan, and it was perfect. Everything was fine. We had a scare the day before. I bled a little bit, but apart from that, it was fine. They said that was nothing. He was okay. Everything was developing as it should have been. They couldn't see why I bled, and it was so light anyway that it didn't matter. But yeah, on the 24th of March, I turned 18 weeks, and I was uncomfortable all day, and I just assumed that it was trapped wind, because I had that quite a bit before in my pregnancy, so I took something for that and just, you know, assumed it was going to go away. But when it didn't, I still didn't really think anything of it at the time, but it grew worse and worse and worse, and it got to the point where I couldn't move. I was lying in bed. There was no way that I was going to be able to do anything, really. And at 7 o'clock my mum came upstairs. I just had a bath as well. I managed to crawl downstairs somehow to get in the bath, hoping that it would alleviate it a little bit, but it wasn't happening. As soon as I came out of the bath, she came up to see me. She went away for a little bit and she came back, and at this point she could see that I was in so much agony and that something had to have been wrong. So at 7 o'clock she went downstairs, called the ambulance. I think they got here at about 7:30ish, but just before they actually got in, my waters broke, and in that instant all the pain stopped, everything. It was just, the pressure was immense. It was ridiculous. But as soon as that happened, there was no pain. I was fine. I felt like nothing had happened. My dad went over to Leicester, which is where my partner was, because he moved into uni that September before, and so it was the half an hour drive to Leicester to pick him up, half an hour back, so I knew I had to wait an hour before he got here. That was not fun. We must have been at my house with the paramedics for at least half an hour, just filling in papers and asking me questions, which didn't seem to be getting us anywhere. And then they took me to the ambulance, and that journey seemed to take forever. It just didn't feel like it was ever going to end. I got in, and the sheets below me that they'd covered me with, the things over the stretcher, were just drenched in blood. I was wearing my pyjamas, my bottoms were absolutely saturated. I'd lost so much blood by the time we got to the hospital that they didn't want me walking in case I collapsed. So they wheeled me straight upstairs. I had another D&C, and then they took me off to a private room. Damage got here by then, thank God, and I had blood work done. They weren't particularly happy with me because I refused a cannula, but case there are. I had to have suppositories, they recommended them. They didn't give me the option really, but I probably could have said no if I wanted to. But they gave me the suppositories, which was to soften my cervix and speed up the contractions. So yeah, it got to 10:15 at night, and the contractions were really strong. They were really painful. They were really quick, and I didn't realise at the time this was going to be my last contraction, and my partner left the room to get the nurses because I was in so much agony and it was lasting for so long. He knew that it was getting towards the end. So by the time the nurses had come in the room with all of the pain relief and everything, it was too late. I'd already given birth to the baby. He was born, like I said, at 10:15. He weighed 250 grams. He was 15 centimeters long. So yeah, they cleaned me up, brought him back in, and that was when we found out we were having a boy, because we didn't get to our second ultrasound. That was going to be a few days afterwards, unfortunately, so I didn't make it to that. But we found out we had a boy, and we named him Alexander William Henry Draper. So yeah, he came home with me. I was discharged the next day, and he came back home with me. He stayed in the refrigerator in our storeroom in the garage at the garden for 8 days, and he was buried on the 1st of April 2012. Sorry, I'm losing my track of thoughts now. Yeah. My partner came over. He dug the hole. He dug the grave for the baby. In the space of those 8 days, my dad made him his coffin. He lined it for me. He made him his plaque for outside, because we planned to have a private burial again on private land, because he's under the gestational age. It was all legal, so it was fine. So yeah, on the 1st of April, he was put to rest in the front of my house. My 4-year-old brother wanted to bury him, which I thought was adorable. Everyone put their handful of dirt down for respect, and my partner finished burying him. So now he has his plaque from my dad on the wall in the front garden, and I've put down a vase which is kind of pushed into the ground so it stays up, and I try and keep on top of his flowers. I treat him like you would a person at any of the graveyards. Just because he isn't in a formal cemetery, to me doesn't mean that he shouldn't be treated the same. So I try and keep on top of his flowers. When his flowers die, I try and get new ones. I really want to decorate his grave, but I haven't quite got around to it yet because I'm not sure what to put on there. And at the moment he's got 2 tiny little windows. When I say tiny, they're like biggie. Yeah, but I don't know what else to put out there, so if you've got any suggestions, that would be really helpful. You know, what have you put on your children's graves if you've lost a baby, or something like that. If you want to send me anything, even if it's just you know, a little pebble that you've wrote your name on and Alex's name on, that would be amazing. Yeah, so if you've got any ideas for me, that would be great. I'm sorry if I've upset anyone with the video, but yeah, I said I was going to make it, I have now. Just thanks for watching, comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you next video. Bye.